Hello everyone and welcome back to CountryCast. We have another deep dive video for y'all, and this time it will be a look back into one of the most influential and revered artists in country music, Randy Travis. You know, George Jones is always described as having the best country music voice of all time, but I think we can all agree that Randy Travis is a pretty damn close second, if not tied. I mean, with his baritone twang, it's as if George Jones and Merle Haggard had a baby. There is no question that Randy changed the game and helped shape a sound of country music that still lives on to this day, the neo-traditional. You may recognize it as Alan Jackson, Travis Tritt, Dwight Yoakam, Brooks and Dunn, Tracy Lawrence, hell, even Sturgill Simpson and John Party. Yeah, and those are just a few of the artists of today who still pull influence from it. But Travis's journey throughout his personal life and career consisted of many ups and downs, and the trials and tribulations that Randy faced create an argument for Travis having one of the most emotional rides as an artist in this business. Those, however, never stopped the country superstar from reaching the pinnacle in country, and what a treat it has been to have Travis in this genre. So with that, kick back and relax as we navigate through the long and illustrious career and life of Mr. Randy Travis. Randy Bruce Trawick, that's right, Randy Bruce Trawick, was born on May 4th, 1959 in Marshville, North Carolina. He was one of 6 children to his parents Bobby and Harold Trawick. Randy was raised on a large family farm and spent much of his youth crafting his God-given musical talent. Travis loved country music. Some of his influences were Lefty Frizzell, George Jones, and like many others, Hank Williams. On top of gaining much influence from some of country music's greats, he was also pushed to pursue music heavily by his father, Harold. Randy was accepting of the nudge from his dad, as Harold was also talented musically. Harold sang country music and even wrote a few songs of his own, and made it on to the local radio station right out of Monroe County, which is located right outside of Marshville. Randy's father went so far as to paying for all 3 of his sons, including Randy's music lessons, and added a music room onto their home with a stage built in. Randy's first performances were for his church choir, where he played guitar and sang. Then, by the age of 9 years old, Randy and his brother Ricky were taking their talents regularly to local contests. But even though Randy's father played a big part in molding Randy Travis early on as a musician and singer, the two did not have the best relationship with one another. It got to a point where Harold allegedly forced both Randy and Ricky to play in front of live audiences, even when they were not interested or had the desire to do so. And when the boys did play, Harold was reportedly known for his yelling and temper, fueled by alcohol. Not only did he direct this towards the boys, but he also directed it to the contest staff as well. After all of the tension between Randy and his father, Randy made the decision to drop out of school in the 9th grade, leaving him with only an 8th grade education. He continued to play music with his brother after he left school. The two played in and around their town, where they went by the Trawick brothers. Now, Randy and Ricky were not only a duo on stage, but off stage as well. Randy had numerous run-ins with law enforcement during this period of time, all the way from disorderly conduct to multiple DUIs, stolen vehicle, and burglary. The stolen vehicle was almost the straw that broke the camel's back regarding Randy's freedom from being jailed for real. Randy and his brother Ricky reportedly stole a van, and the crazy part of it all is this charge actually fueled Randy's success in country music. Here's why. It's a very crucial part of Travis's story. After Ricky and Randy were caught for stealing the vehicle, the two were still expecting to perform in a singing contest that they had entered at a club known as Country City, USA, which was located in Charlotte, North Carolina, about 45 minutes from their hometown of Marshville. However, Randy took over the spotlight after Ricky was sentenced and placed in jail for that charge. Randy made it out to perform solo, however, at Country City, USA, and on the final night of the contest, he won. He impressed the bar owner Lib Hatcher so much so that she offered him a regular gig and hooked him up with a job as a cook and dishwasher. Randy remained faithful to the club, playing solo gigs and helping out. And thanks to club owner Lib Hatcher, Randy avoided a long-term prison sentence after he finally appeared in court for the stolen vehicle charge. Randy went before the court, and the judge respected Lib Hatcher enough to grant her guardianship over Travis, who was only 17 years old at the time. Now, this was no easy feat, as the judge at the time made it clear that if Travis was ever to be back into his courtroom, he would put Randy away for a long time. But Lib Hatcher convinced the court that she would be responsible as his guardian and look after his promising career. So, Randy's parents signed over the parental rights, and he moved in with Lib Hatcher and her husband in Charlotte, North Carolina, along with performing 6 nights out of the week and cooking and maintaining the property at Country City, USA. Lib Hatcher became Randy's manager, and the process of making him a star in Nashville began. However, Lib and Randy's relationship became more than business, and the element of intimacy was added. Frank Hatcher, Lib's husband, took notice to the relationship between Randy and Lib, and ultimately the two divorced, and Travis and Lib's relationship took off. Travis's father watched as Lib Hatcher was managing Randy all while having the intimate relationship, and he attempted to stop what he believed to be control from happening to his son. But he was banned from her nightclub after he so-called caused a scene one evening. Randy and Lib stuck by one another and spent most of their time working towards making Randy a star. From going back and forth to Nashville several times, to even spending their hard-earned money on Randy's initial recordings. Travis had the opportunity early on to record his first singles with help from fellow country artist Joe Stampy under Paula Records. Travis recorded 2 singles titled Dreamin' and She's My Woman. Both flopped to the point where the full album that he recorded was never even released. By the early 80s, Randy and Hatcher moved to Nashville and tried to push Randy through all of the major labels in Music City. And get this, he was rejected by pretty much all of them. And wait till you hear the reason. He was too country. The urban cowboy movement was all the craze at the time, and his more traditional sound was not really, I guess, what the machine believed to be successful. But as I stated at the beginning, neo-traditional is one of the most beloved subgenres of country, and, well, because of Randy. Anyways, Randy and Hatcher went back to doing what they did best. She ran a new nightclub in Nashville known as the Nashville Palace. And you guessed it, Randy performed there, but this time under the moniker Randy Ray. They took a chance on recording another record. This time, however, it was a live album, live at the Nashville Palace. This record was the final piece to the puzzle for Randy Travis breaking into country music, because after presenting it to Warner Brothers Nashville, Travis got his contract and shot. Warner first made Randy change his stage name from Randy Ray, so he chose Randy Travis after one of his biggest idols, Merle Travis. They also wanted Randy and Lib's relationship to remain on the down low, as it was complicated. And in 1985, Warner Brothers took a chance on Randy and released his first single, On the Other Hand. If you can believe it, On the Other Hand tanked, peaking at only number 67 on the charts. Now, real quick, an interesting fact about On the Other Hand, if you did not already know, is that it was originally performed by Keith Whitley. But back to it. It was touch and go until Warner released his second single, 1982. And boy, was that all it took. 1982 peaked at number 6 on the charts, and due to its success, Warner chanced On the Other Hand again. And wouldn't you know this, it would be the moment that Travis's life would change forever. 1 year later, Randy Travis released his debut major label studio album, and arguably one of the most important albums in country music, Storms of Life. This record is one of my all-time favorites, with On the Other Hand, the title track Storms of Life, Digging Up Bones, No Place Like Home, 1982, There'll Always Be a Honky Tonk Somewhere. I mean, this album is loaded with hits. Country music fans can agree. And here's why. Storms of Life was certified platinum 3 times, and it was the first ever country album to actually go platinum. Wow. On the other hand, And Digging Up Bones went number 1 on the charts and certified as gold singles. No Place Like Home peaked at number 2, and 1982 peaked at number 6. This is a debut album, and Travis knocked it out of the park. So much so that in the same year of 1986, he had the opportunity to open for acts such as Conway Twitty, George Jones, and Barbara Mandrell. And he was even invited to be a member of the Grand Ole Opry by Little Jimmy Dickens. He was the youngest artist to ever join there at the time, and of course, for his first song as a member of the Opry on December 20th, 1986, he chose Hank Williams' classic, I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. The fire was burning bright and hot for Travis because the next year he did it again with the release of his sophomore album, Always and Forever, which features his signature song, Forever and Ever, Amen, along with Too Gone Too Long, What You'll Do About Me, I Won't Need You Anymore, and I Told You So. And a deep cut that I personally love, Tonight We're Gonna Tear Down the Walls. The bar was raised as this record has since gone platinum 5 times, and all singles went number 1 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart. I mean, enough said. And how does he do it again? Well, he did. In 1988, he released his third album titled Old 8x10. The record certified as 2 times platinum, and his singles Honky Tonk Moon, Deeper Than the Holler, Is It Still Over, all went number 1 on the Hot Country Songs chart, and Promises peaked at number 17. His next album, No Holdin' Back, also went double platinum, thanks to hits like Singin' the Blues, He Walked on Water, Hard Rock Bottom of Your Heart, Somewhere in My Broken Heart, and It's Just a Matter of Time. Heroes and Friends followed up big in 1990 as it also went platinum. And finally, in 1991, his 6th studio album, High Lonesome, did it again and has since gone platinum. Oh, and did I mention the awards? Top New Male Vocalist at the 1985 ACMs, several ACM Top Male Vocalist Awards, the CMA Horizon Award in '86, CMA's Male Vocalist of the Year 2 times, and Album of the Year awards for Always and Forever, and a total of 6 Grammy Awards. Absolutely insane. 1991 became the year things began to slow down, however, for Travis and get a bit more rockier. In 1991, Randy Travis and Lib Hatcher revealed their secret marriage. There were many speculations surrounding Randy's relationship life already, but all the rumors were put to bed after their relationship became public for the first time, really. And the two married in private on May 31st of 1991 while vacationing in Hawaii. However, even though the relationship status was out of the way, many also believed and claimed that Lib Hatcher was very controlling over Randy's day-to-day, similar, to Elvis's treatment from Colonel Parker. Travis even wrote about these claims in his memoir, Forever and Ever, Amen, the book that he released in 2019, where he said, "The one point which everyone agreed was Lib's domineering personality, comparing her absolute control of nearly everything in my life to the domination of Elvis Presley by Colonel Parker. One friend quipped that she makes Colonel Parker seem like a kindergartner. While I believe that Lib loved me and knew that she had poured her life into helping us succeed, the question of whether she was serving my best interests or her own popped up frequently and increasingly irritated me. It was always there, festering like an infected wound, even when fantastic things were happening in our lives. And fantastic things were happening, make no mistake." As the 90s dragged on, Randy began to find it harder to put out the massive singles that he had done so before. Guys that he created a lane for like Alan Jackson, Travis Tritt, and B&D were at the top of the game now, so Randy Travis seemed to get lost in the mix. Travis and Lib tried everything and finally found that Randy thrived much in the gospel market. Travis released many gospel albums, his biggest being his 2002 record, Rise and Shine, which featured 3 wooden crosses. But the strain of his relationship with Lib worsened, and as many believed, the relationship did not last. 2010 was the year Randy called it quits from Lib Hatcher and filed for divorce. Randy and Lib were rumored to have been seeing other folks during their marriage. Travis began involving himself with a lady by the name of Mary Davis, who is now his current wife, which we'll touch on in a bit. Even though the divorce was finalized in the latter part of 2010, Randy kept Lib on as a manager, but the two never reconciled their relationship. The messy part of it all, however, continued. Randy and Lib filed lawsuits against one another a couple of years after the divorce, which, according to Saving Country Music, Lib alleged Travis blocked her from doing her job and claimed that he was intentionally trying to get back at her for her outside relationship during their marriage. And Randy filed a countersuit claiming that it was because of her profit percentage in her contract as his manager. Saving Country Music notates that it was at 25% when the regular going rate was usually around 15%. So she did have a pretty large cut there. Ultimately, the lawsuits were settled with no disclosure on the settlement numbers or agreements. Now, going back to Travis's memoir, he detailed even more of this in writing and saying, "Looking back, although Lib's and my relationship was unusual, I truly believe that we had loved each other with as much love as we knew at the time. In many ways, we had been good for each other, and I'd always expressed my appreciation for her dogged determination in steering my career. On the other hand, the comparisons between Lib's and my relationship and that of Colonel Parker and Elvis's were, he helped make Elvis's career, but he controlled Elvis to the point that he had also helped destroy him. In a similar way, Lib had controlled everything about our business and about our lives from the time I was 17, and I had been content to allow her to do that for nearly 33 years. He added Johnny Cash forged his own destiny. Eddie Arnold was in command of his career. Dolly Parton took charge of her own career from the beginning, and so did Garth Brooks. Taylor Swift and her parents were the key decision makers in her career. Not me. I was never in charge. Lib was, and I let her." 2012, this year, man, it had its fair share of ups and downs for Travis, as this was also the year of his infamous DUI-related crash. Randy Travis was arrested for DUI and felony retaliation. According to CNN at the time, Texas Highway Patrol received a call for a man lying in the roadway on this particular night out in Tioga, Texas. And upon their arrival, troopers found Travis at the scene, naked, with his vehicle on the side of the highway after striking several barricades. Law enforcement claimed that Travis refused to take a blood and breath test and was belligerent throughout the arrest process and threatening officers. As you can see here, this is the body cam footage of Randy's arrest with minor injuries to his face, and he is remaining verbally aggressive towards the trooper throughout the time he is being transported to jail. Travis's team attempted to sue regarding the public release of the body cam footage. However, their suit was denied. Travis did apologize for his actions after their suit was denied in a statement where a representative stated, "Randy's behavior was extremely altered the evening of his arrest due to the state of his mental health and substances in his body, causing him to do and say things that were entirely out of character. He suffered a severe concussion and sustained numerous other injuries from the crash. Randy is deeply apologetic for his actions that evening. A man of integrity with a good heart, Randy does not and will never condone these types of actions that distort the true beliefs of Randy Travis and his entire family." Randy's current wife, Mary Davis, mentioned before, also shared in Randy's memoir that alcohol was not the only factor in the incident and that Randy had only 2 glasses of wine that night, but unfortunately he also took an Ambien to help with his sleep. Travis was sentenced for the crash and received 2 years of probation, and the court ordered for him to report to alcohol-related treatment. Now, throughout this time, remember, Randy was still seeing Mary, who was married to a dentist at the time, so the start of their relationship seemed to get off on the wrong foot, but Mary stayed loyal to Randy, and that year consisted of multiple alcohol-related incidents, and Randy even was charged with assault against Mary Davis's estranged husband after he allegedly assaulted him in the parking lot of a church. It's reported that Travis also faced 90 days of probation due to that charge, according to Country Thing Daily. However, in 2013, things would take another turn, this time with a medical scare beyond belief. Just months after the two finally were engaged, Randy Travis was initially admitted to the hospital for a viral heart infection. After a few days, Randy Travis suffered a major stroke. He underwent intensive surgery to relieve the pressure on his brain and was listed as critical at the end of the surgery. It was believed that Randy Travis may not make it out of the medically induced coma, but Mary Davis believed that Travis would fight through and make it out. Travis did make it out of the coma, but was left with aphasia, which prevents one's ability to speak and understand speech, according to the Mayo Clinic. Randy was tasked with therapy, and by 2015, Randy Travis and Mary Davis finally tied the knot. Randy and Mary are happily married, and she continues to be by his side every step of the way, and you can truly see the love between one another. And Randy, even to this day, is still making his rounds to the stage where he shares live moments with other artists in the business. Don't forget, in 2016, Randy Travis was also inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame, and there is no question that this man should be there. Many of us have our own vices, and Randy was no stranger, but to jump into the world at 17 and to jump in without the support of your family and into a business that is simply cutthroat, it's challenging. And what the industry asks of you is a lot of times a lot. And another piece to all of this was he was an actor as well and even starred in several movies. So in a lot of ways, when we make mention of Colonel Parker and Elvis and what we see here from Randy, I guess he was pretty similar to the King. But Randy Travis will forever and ever be one of the greatest to ever do it in country music. And for that, we say thank you. Guys, thank you all for tuning in here today at Country Cast. Really enjoyed sharing Randy Travis's journey with you guys. He is one of my favorite artists, as I'm sure he is to most of you out there. If you have an album or a song that is your favorite of his, or if you have a memory that you share with Randy Travis, maybe it was at a live performance or you had the opportunity to actually meet the man, please share it down below in the comments. We would love to hear about it. But again, that will be it for today's video. If you are new here to Country Cast, hit that subscribe button down below. Turn those notifications on as well so you never miss out on any breaking updates surrounding your favorite country artist and all the news coming right out of Music City. Y'all stay country.